We'll start the presentation today. Good afternoon, sir.
Okay,
Uh,
good afternoon.
good afternoon, everyone. Today's discussion, we are going to present about oral production tests. It will be presented by me, Francisca Inapasca Ur, as the first section of this material, and then Hazel will be presented the second part of this material. So let's take a look at the next slide. In the oral production test here, there are four components that are emphasized. They are vocabulary, grammar, semantics, and also phonology. These are four components that we have to know, uh, especially in testing the oral production tests. In Basically, in oral production tests, or what we can call it as speaking skills. So these skills, this skill is one of the most important aspects if we want to test the speaking ability. However, we know that speaking is a skill that is difficult to test because, yeah, it's very complex. So let's go to the next slide to see the some difficulties testing the speaking skill. So from the first point, there is the criteria in measuring the speaking skills and the weight given to correct pronunciation. So in this point, there are combination of skill that don't correlate with each other. So they are also suitable for objective testing. It was stated that there is still no good answer to the criteria for testing these skills. And also the testing the weighting of these factors, such as like how to pronounce correctly. So this is like some people do have the ability to express their ideas clearly, but at the same time, they cannot pronounce all the sounds properly. Several people can produce almost any correct voice, but it still cannot communicate their ideas properly. So, on the other hand, people can make many mistakes, especially in phonology and also the syntax, but they manage to express themselves quite clearly. And then about the next difficulty discussed here is the existence of interchange of speaking and listening skills. So in here, sorry, we know that speaking skill is related to listening to each other. So we find it difficult to separate this between the speaking and also the listening because when we are talking normally, listening is also an interchange skill here. So in most cases, there is a exchange between listening and speaking appropriately, and it depends on understanding the spoken input. It will impact the speaking test because the examiners here will not know whether the test they are testing is purely speaking or speaking and listening together. So it's possible to have a like meaningful conversation without understanding what is being said. So through this problem, this intelligence of speaking and listening skills can increase the difficulty to analyze exactly what is being tested. And then the other one point in here, the assessment and scoring of speaking skills. The assessment and scoring of speaking skills here uh, is this is one of its biggest problems. So if possible, it's better to record the test taker's performance, and scoring will be done on to listening to the tab. So the aspect of speaking that are considered part of its assessment, which including like grammar, pronunciation, fluency, content, and so on. So depending on the situation and the purpose of the test, so the test takers need to choose the appropriate methods and the techniques of testing. and and I'm thinking that testing speaking is also like a specific problem when it's necessary to uh, test large numbers of students. So in some situations, uh, there tests like and even if uh, students speaks only a few minutes, so this is become like a big job. And yeah, in spite of the difficulties in testing the speaking skills, speaking tests can be a source of like beneficial backwash. So if speaking is tested, unless it's tested at a very low level, such as like reading aloud here, which will be explained in the next slide. So in here, in the next slide, it is reading aloud. Um, in this type, um, this is about how the way to test, how the way we test our the students' reading ability, where we ask the person being tested to read it aloud. So in here, let's take a look at the first point. Reading aloud is the act of reading out loud of any written text. So basically, reading aloud is not only learners' reading activity or teachers reading aloud, but reading aloud is, yeah, in here, reading aloud is like the act of reading out loud of any written text by both of the learners and also from teachers. So this is like when the teacher is a model for the students in speaking, when reading aloud and the students also read the text, reading the text out loud. So yeah, this is one of the most common tasks is to read direction or instruction aloud to a friend, maybe a college or a coworker. So this following, let's take a look at the third point in here. This following instruction relate to situation where a teacher or class supervisor might be asked to read aloud. So in here, the illustration like put the headset on first, make sure to be in the most comfortable position with the headband over the center of your head, and then the microphone should be about 1.5 inches from the mouth. To record, place the white switch to the position marked work, and then put the red switch to speak and press the recording button, which will now light up. So uh, basically, this is generally not a good way to test reading. So its backwards effect was likely, and it wasn't a skill that was widely used outside of class. But however, it's a way to test the pronunciation separately from the speech content. So if it's necessary to use the to use this testing method, so the solution is like the test should at least use situation in which the students might actually read aloud, like reading instruction or maybe parts of letters to others. And then let's take a look at the last point here. Actually, a retelling of a short story or incident is more useful in many ways than reading aloud. So in this type of test, the students are required to retell a story they have just read. So if we carefully construct the tests, so which are otherwise tested by the reading aloud, but unfortunately, it can be often measures of the other the skills like reading comprehension or maybe the memory or maybe the organization and so on. So let's see the next method of this speaking skills in the next slide. It is about conversational exchanges. So this is another simple of test uh, uh, is a test in which the students here are given with particular situation and instructed to respond in a certain way. These tests are usually highly structured and also require only limited response. So from all the item types range from items that presenting the test takers with situations in which they can initiate the conversation to the income to incomplete the conversations with like part of one speaker, for example like one side dialogue. So the test contain such item uh, on the whole reliable, but they cannot be described as being valid tests of speaking. So let's take a look at here the type 1. Test takers are asked to construct sentences on pattern lines or groups of specific patterns. Two or three models are given to the people being tested so they know exactly what is needed. So the test takers read or hear the situation and then make the appropriate responses that shown in the brackets here. Um, for example, in this the illustration, Mrs. Green lives in a flat. She doesn't like living in a flat and would like to live in a small house with a garden. And then the brackets one in here, she wishes she live in a small house with a garden. And then the other one is it's raining heavily. Tom and Anna are waiting impatiently at home to set off on their picnic. And then the bracket one, they wish it would stop raining. And then there are the other questions that that including it in the type one. So let's take a look at the next type in type two. In the type next, please. So in this type 2, this type of item is similar to the previous one, but no model responses are given by examiner and the students are free to use whatever pattern they wish. So there is no model responses that are given by the examiner, and but the students here are free to use whatever patterns they wish. So let's take a look at the illustration here below. A friend of yours has forgotten where he has put his glasses. He cannot see too well without them. What will you say to him? And then the brackets respond here, let me help you to look for them, etc. And then the other one, you are on your way to school when it starts to rain heavily. Unfortunately, you and your friend have no raincoats. There is nowhere to shelter, but your school is only 100 yards away. What do you say to your friend? And then the answer can be, shall we make a test for it? Or maybe let's run the rest of the way. So this is the another questions of this type 2. So let's take a look at the next slide in the type 3. From type 3, the students hear a stimulus to which they must respond in any appropriate way. So the test often relies on like conventional greetings or maybe can be apologies and maybe can be like the expression of politeness or disagreement and so on. Yeah. So here, let's take a look at the illustration below. Do you mind if I use your pencil for a moment? And the answer, it can be like not at all, or maybe certainly, or maybe please do, or maybe go ahead, and so on. And then the other one, what a game of tennis? And then the answer can be like yes, I love a game, or maybe all right, I don't mind, or maybe don't you think it's a bit too hot, and so on. So this is the another question of the type 3. And then let's take a look at the next slide for the type 4. For the type 4, this type is similar to type 3, but stimuli and responses form part of a longer dialogue and the situation is developed. Um, in here, let's take a look at the illustration below. You're on your way to the supermarket. A man comes up and speaks to you. And then the man said, "Excuse me, I wonder if you can help me at all. I'm looking for a chemist." And then it is paused for the test taker's reply. And then the man again said, "Thank you. Do you know what time it opens?" And then it again paused for the test taker's reply. And then the man said, "Thanks a lot. Oh, by the way, is there a phone box near here?" And then the test takers reply, and then the man said, "Oh dear, I'll need some coins. Do you have any change for 5 knot?" And then it is paused for test takers reply, and then the man said, "Well, thanks a lot. You have been most helpful." So actually, from this dialogue is like clearly makes no sense if when he said that or when he asked that where there is a chemist and the test, if maybe if the test taker replies don't know. So in here for the second the dialogue of the man here, he immediately thanks to him or her and then asks what time it opens. So however, this is the use of this kind of like pre-recorded material that allows the use of language to especially to test the large numbers of the students in a very short time. So yeah, let's take a look at the next type. This is the type 5. Type 5 is item takes the form of incomplete dialogue with prompts whispered in the student's ear. So this item takes the form of incomplete dialogue and then it is shown in brackets in the following example and then whispered in the student's ear. So let's take a look at the illustration below. You are at the receptionist desk of a large hotel and the receptionist turns to address you. So the receptionist asks that, "Can I help you?" And then the brackets one is you want to know if there is a single room available. So it's there is a instruction also from the test takers to what they have to say after the receptionist asks to his or to her. So um, basically this may also be done as part of like longer dialogue where there are also we have to know that there is also the pauses of the test takers responses to questions on the tab. So like the problem with this sort of test is that the dialogue on the tab keeps going along no matter what the test taker says, whether the next line on the tab is appropriate or not. So in addition, it's testing listening at least as much as it's testing the speaking. So, however, this type of test does make it possible to test the large numbers of people at the same time in a way that is at least somewhat the communicative things. So, yeah, let's take a look at the other method other than the conversational exchanges in the next slide. Next slide, please. So in here, using pictures for assessing oral production. Mm, uh, in here, it's possible to us to test the speaking skill using like pictures or maybe diagrams or maybe maps. Um, with with the through or yeah through the careful selection of the material, the tester here can control the vocabulary and also as well as the grammatical structures. So in here, from the first point, various types of material are appropriate for this type of test. So it's depending on the language that the tester wants to elicit. So uh, it is like one common type of stimulus material. It is like a series of pictures which tells a story. So with a few sentences of introduction to get the test taker started. So it is required the test takers to put together like a coherent narrative way. So um, there is also different types of visual materials that range in their difficulty to suit all the levels, especially levels of the learners. So one common um, an stimulus the material like putting the pictures in a random order of the story to group of the test takers, and then the students can decide on the sequence of pictures without showing them to each other, and then it is like put them down in the order that they have decided on, so they then have the opportunity to reorder the pictures if they feel it's necessary. So in here, um, the other another one point here, one possible problem with this type of visual stimuli is that the material has to be something that all the testers can interpret equally well. So it's it's actually the students in here can describe their pictures and also decide on their sequence without showing them to each other, and then put them down in the order that they have decided on. So they then have like the opportunity to reorder the pictures if they feel it's necessary, as I said. So um, without seeing each other's pictures, they describe their own pictures and find the differences. So in here, through this, one possible problem with this type of like visual stimuli um, is that the material has to be something that all the test takers can interpret equally well. Since if test takers has difficulty understanding the visual information, and that will influence the way he or she evaluate it. So That's all from my part. So it will be continued for the next part, which explain the another method from Hazel.
So for my part is like it's gonna be start from the oral interview. So for when we are talking about the oral interview, there is the thing is that the scoring of the oral interview is like highly subjective. Since that is the interview, like we can be able to project and like it's not like what we want for the target lead. That's why the scoring is really subjective. It can be the objective kind of like reading, writing, and then also the listening. And but we can also say it has kind of like a low reliability when we compare with the other type of the speaking test. So the performance of a student is like based on the particular interview, it not be accurately reflect his or her true ability. Because for the interview, it's like normally the examiner will ask something, then at the time the student will have to give the feedback to that one. So like maybe because of their tense or maybe excited, nervous, those kind of things, we won't be able to check the student true ability sometimes. And then also the interview is sometimes they will put them in the boundary for let's talk about the hometown, then everything's gonna be just only in the hometown, so like their vocabulary checkings won't be that much accurate. And then also their true ability also won't be able to reflect. That is the weak point of the oral interviews. So when we are talking about the oral interview, some are arguing kind of like this examination is really not artificial, it's not realistic. So why do they say that it's unrealistic? Because the students are not in natural, and then also in the interview is like they won't be able to use the real life speech situation because the examination situation is really different. So uh, for example, even if the student is really active and then also over friendly students, once they are in the interview rooms, they will becoming like they will adopt a quiet and colorless tone. uh, and then also like their attitude, even the attitude has been changed because in their real life situation, in real life speech is like they use the informal, but in the exam, as long as they are in the examination interview room, they get a hands kind of like now is the we have to use more focusing on the formal way to speak. So in that way, the examiner won't be able to check the true ability and then also the true quality of the student speaking. So that is the point of the oral interview. So how can we how can we find a solution for this kind of problem? So there are the kind of two solution. The very first solution is that having a class teacher as an interviewer. So instead of the interviewers becoming the new one, if there is a class teacher, at least they will feel a little bit familiar with them, and then things we have the class teacher and then also the student has already communicated before, so it will make student feel a lot at ease. And then also at the same time, the interviewer should endeavor to put the student at ease from the beginning of the interview, as long as just coming into the interview and then asking the question directly instead of that making kind of like a step by talking the small talk, like have you finished your breakfast? What did you have it? Kind of like that will able to help making the student at ease. And then also another one is that interviewer should never attempt to note down marks or comments while the student is still engaged in the interview, because from the point of the interviewer, they need to help the students to be able to feel natural. And so if the teacher is studying note down while the student is still speaking, still in interview, then it will make them feel like, oh, the text again. So those kind of like reminding again will be come up, and then also it will make the interviewee, the student tense. At the same time, the interviewer also sometimes they will require to play the dual roles in the oral interview. So dual role means sometimes we need to be the language partner, and then at the same time we also need to be the assessor from that interviewer point of view. Because in some of the situation, like role play, so we need to be the language partner in that kind of situation. So that is one of the solution. And another solution is that interview the student in pair or even three. Like the existence of the interviewer is giving a lot of nervous to the students. So instead of having only interviewer and students, having two or more students as in pair or a group, so it will help the students will be able to feel at ease because of the existent presence of the friends and classmates. So, and then also in that way, interviewer can also enable them to speak to each other. So like for example, at the play, when in the interview, if the role play is included, instead of working as a language partner, just let them talk to each other. It will help the interviewers more, and then also for the students, also they will also feel at ease. So since they are in the peer group, the students will also will be able to use normally like their everyday speech. So as they gonna start use the everyday speech, the from the point of interviewer also the teacher will be able to give score a little bit more, like we will be able to reflect the ability of the students in their real life. So these are the solution to be able to uh, situation. So then how about scoring? We also need to think about the scoring because sometimes it can be really subjective. So that is, but one thing we need to take care is that from the for the interviewer, the oral interview should be scored only after a student has left the room. If the student is still in the room, don't note down, don't make any mark. Just only once the student has left the room, we need to make the teacher can make the interviewer can make a scoring. And then also the scoring also need to range from the impression mark. The mark arrive on the basis of the fairly detailed marking scheme. So for the marking scheme, it can be divided into accuracy of pronunciation. Another one is grammar, vocabulary, proficiency, fluency, ease of speech. Based on those things also can be um, give the mark, make a scoring scheme. So for example, giving them in here is gonna be the six. So if we're planning to base on the six, then the interviewer can make them like 20% each or maybe 15% each. So by giving those kind of weight, the scoring scheme can be done. So here is the example of marking schemes. So the marking scheme can be rated from the 1 to 6. So if the really excellent and then like completely at ease in the use of all the topic, then we can give 6. But even though the student did really well, still like kind of like the student experienced a little difficulties in understanding, then we can give the student a rating 5 because there is a little bit difficult for the student. Another one is uh, the verbal communication caused a little difficulties, and then like and then also make really a limited number of error in grammar, linguistics, pronunciation. Even though there is a mistake, still at ease in communicating everyday subject. So, and then also like the student can correct themselves, like self-correcting has it, and then also repeating the utterance. So then for this one can be considered as a rating 4. But for if become a little bit lower and then just only fairly satisfactory, then at the time like from the point of the native speaker may have experienced some difficulties in communicating with the students because of the, and then also sometimes repetition, rephrasing, repatterning are also necessary because the student is just only past the mistake. So then it's gonna be a little bit difficult to communicate from the native speaker point of view. Then we have to give score 3. And then if the student is like experienced really unaccustomed to the foreign language at all, because but his own understanding is also really severely limited for those kind of situation, and then also make a lot of mistake error in the phonology, grammar, and lexics, we're gonna give rating 2. But if the student is like having a really struggling to be able to understand and then also make himself and really difficultly from the students, then we will give the student rating 1. So that is the rating 1 to 6. That is the example of marking scheme for the oral speaking test. So then in the previous one, we saw that the scoring is 1 to 6, but normally when we give the score, we only feel like 1 to 5 is a little bit kind of like familiar with us from our point of view. But in here is the note we have to note down. If from the point of interviewer, to give the score is an even number scale is preferred. In that way, the examiner can advise them awarding the middle mark. For example, if the score is 1 to 5, then for 3, if the student get 3, so can we consider this one is the lower range or the higher range? It's really ambiguous. So the best way is give the even number scale. If we give the even number scale, then it's gonna be we can consider here 6-point scale is 1 to 3 is lower range, 4 to 6 is higher range. So it's a lot more convenient from the point of interviewer. And then is also this kind of scoring is useful for the public examination to have 2 or more examiners listening for the particular area. So in that way, the interviewer can avoid scoring subjectively, since there will be another one more examiner. Both of the examiner can discuss and then also give the score correctly, accurately. And then also sample recording and scores can discuss some standardization of marks achieved. So like recording taken in that way, the interviewer can listen again and also given the score really well. So how can the interviewer devise the suitable skills? The teacher should describe clearly the criteria for assessing oral ability. So, for example, the teacher should describe which area we will focus. So in here, there are the areas that the teacher can set as a criteria: accuracy, appropriacy, fluency, range, flexibility, size, comprehensibility, amount of communication, quality of communication, and communication. These are the areas that the teacher can make it as a criteria. So then how can the teacher describe? The teacher can begin by describing maybe like 1 or 2 sentences exactly what the teacher expects. So in that way, the students will be able to achieve under the guiding. So when the text is taken, given an example versus one of the price, that is the point. So then how can a teacher can rate a student the part criteria? Here is an example for the intermediate level. So here, accuracy, fluency, and then comprehensibility. So these are the 3 criteria that teachers will focusing. So in here, the first one is that the pronunciation has to be really slightly right. 2 or 3 minor grammatical lexical errors. So this one is the 6. And fluency is speak without sugar and alcohols, with relevant expression and a stage for words occasionally, but only 1 or 2 unnatural pauses. And then comprehensible, easy for the listener to understand, and then speaker intention and meaning. Very few interaction and clarification is needed. So those are the things for the ranking 6 has been marked as criteria. So as usual, the things will be going down right now. So and then also for rating 20 will be like a serious pronunciation error. Like even the business have a lot of grammatical error. So then there was no evidence for the students like they don't master any of the language skill, then it's gonna be one. So that is how we can start for the assurance. And then also for the fluency also, if the student have a lot of long and natural pauses and then it's quality and then at the time the fluent rank will get a one. If the student fact their perceiving is really different, hardly can would even when a listener make the great effort or interact. So the even the teachers help in here. The listener want to make an examiners of teacher. Even the teachers help, but still it's really hardly understandable that we can that is the rating one. So these are the example of the three area can be given as a scoring scheme. So then here, when the examiner is asking, it can make a list of the topics. So just only instead saying all the ways right away, just trying to use the list of the topics will helpful for the examiner. For example, here are the example topic: family, home, school, sports, hobby, books, film, transport, weekend, holiday, radio, halt, about teeth, and then shopping, traffic, crime, friends, money, fine, and career. So for example, if the topic is family, uh, from the point of the interviewer, they can ask how many family members are there? Is that what do you normally do with your family in the weekend? How do you spend time with the family? Well, who is the eldest one in your family? Who is the youngest one in the family? So based on one topic, the many questions can be delivered. At least 10 to 12 questions can be asked on each topic, but the examiner should not ever attempt to work through the list of the question because sometimes the question list cannot be use just only like a walkthrough from the point of for these based on the student answer. For example, do you have any sibling? Then the student might answer, no, I'm the only one. Then if the next question is about how old is your mother, how old is your sibling, then we can the examiner won't be able to ask this question. So the examiner shouldn't attempt to walk through just only the like step by step for the list of questions. That is the point that have to be take care. So for example, here, if the question is like sports and games, the title topic, so then here are the questions that can be asked based on the sports and game. Do you play any game? What's your favorite sports? How often do you play? Are you in your school team? Do you like watching sport? Which do you think is the most interesting sports to watch? Can you swim? How did you learn to swim? Whereabouts do you go swimming? Which game would you advise to take up and why? Which is the most difficult game to play? Which is better as an exercise, basketball, or football? So in here, also we can see that on here is like, can you swim? If the for the question, can you use swim? If the student answer, no, I can't, then the other question, how did you learn to swim? Where about do you go swimming? Those two questions won't be able to ask at all from the point of examiner because the student will just only keep answering like, I don't know how to swim, and then it's gonna be done. So this kind of situation, that's why uh, if the sometime if the examiners is planning to ask 5 questions, then for the students, the examiner should be prepared kind of like 7 or 8 questions. It will help to the teachers more. So and then here. So if the oral interview is recorded, sometimes the oral interview can be recorded. Then if that one is recorded on tape, then examiner can, the good points of the recording is the examiner can score the interview at leisure, because like it can be play and replay again and again where the necessary. So even if the teacher couldn't listen this part carefully, then they can replay again and then also pay more attention and listen again. And then also at the same time, extensive notes can be taken from the recording, like kind of like making a comparison and then confirmation. So like is that if the teacher have a doubt concerning a particular mark, the teacher can have a comparison made, and then the notes can be done at ease for the teacher's view. The examiners also have to take care to identify the each student at the beginning of the interviewer, so it's not uh, the recordings will be really mess up. So in that way, once the interviewer has been taken to identify the students at the beginning of the interview, it will be in the recording and it will be able to rewind and replay at the time. So it will be helpful for that. So that is the tips for the interviewer if the oral interview is gonna be recorded. So at the same time, here is another way. Another way is the short talk. So how a short talk is like the students may along to several days sometime, or sometimes it's only a few minutes to prepare the talk. So in some case, the student may be provided with notes or reference material. So this is clearly a realistic task because like it's gonna be continued difficult, like a sustainable speech. Because for the second language learners, it's going to be the difficult examination, but also it's going to be more advanced stage. The question may be asked within, with by the examiners or by the group of students. So the examiner must make every attempt to put the student at ease. Since the short talk is that sometimes the examiner only give a title. Can you tell me about your last vacation? Then the student have to present about the last vacation. But sometimes they give the note. Can you tell me about your last vacation? Where did you go? How long did you stay there? Did you have fun? Those kind of tips are included. Then student can make a note and then also able to answer. So sometimes the teacher will give it in advance, but sometimes the teacher won't just only give it in the classroom and then asking directly. So it's gonna be more look like the IELTS speaking part 2 for this one. So the most important part for this short talk is that the examiner must make every attempt to put the student at ease. If not, the short talk will not be able to convey what the student really want to say within the given minutes. Another one is that once the oral interview is making or a short talk, the value subjects are back to be advised because many topics are, for example, here, should countries spend huge sum of money on space exploration? And then like, do demonstrations solve a useful purpose? Do people ever really learn anything from the mistake they make? So like, um, sometimes those kind of things can be really vague. So however, like still, if kind of like if that is for the advanced level is fine. So I think for this kind of given the question is gonna be based on the level of the students. The teacher will have to really take care a lot to pay more attention to the level of the students. And then another type is the group discussion and then role play. That is, here the teacher can discover how the students are thinking and then using the target language. And the group activity in both teaching and testing can be used to provide an opportunity to meaningful and active involvement. At the same time, the students will be able to given an opportunity to use the exploratory talk. So group discussion and then role play are they play well. So for example, here, so like problem solving activity and puzzle is really suitable for the group activity. For example, is here, uh, radioactivity from the nuclear power station accident will brief your area. So there is a small but safe nuclear fall or shatter nearby. So however, it's just only have room for only 6 people out of a total 12 people. So the 6 people from the following list, do you think it will be most useful to save in the interest for the future generation? So here, list them in the order of the priority. So here is like they have give the age and then also female or male and then also their job are given. So based on that, for those kind of question is there is no correct answer. And then also there is no incorrect answer. The main point is that they want students to use the target language to justify their decision and then also seek the agreement. So can they persuade or can they present their opinion well and can they persuade the other people? Can they seek the agreement? And then while they are saying, is that like, do they show respect or not? Respect or not to the listener? Those kind of ways are can be checked. So this kind of test is also a really good one. So here we have talked about the good things. So, but the thing is that here, the reading aloud section is considered as a harmful in its effect on teaching, and then it should be omitted from the examination. That is how the scholar consider, because the reading aloud is, we can check the pronunciation that is correct, but at the same time is we won't be able to check the true ability of the students because just only given the one and then only reading aloud. So the one thing is we can only check punctuation and then also the pronunciation, except that can we check their natural ability? No. Can the teacher check them their usage, their grammar, their pattern? The teacher will be able to check for the reading aloud section. So it should be omitted from the examination, but from my point of view, I think it will be okay to put in the lesson or exercise, but not as the examinations. So here is the general conclusion about the oral production test. So that is a reliable method of obtaining the measurements of oral pronunciation skill is what involve the student class teacher. So involving the student classroom teacher will be able to make the reliable method for to be able to measure the scores. And then another one is comprehensive and balanced examination of oral production might consist of oral interview involving the two students, and then after that, a short problem solving activity involving the comparison or sequencing of structures, and then the last one, a longer activity comprising group discussion or role play. So for those three, can make a comprehensive and balanced examination for the oral production. So that's gonna be all about the oral production test. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you for Hazel and Francisca for presenting the topic about testing oral production or speaking skill. So one of the, I suppose, the what most difficult tests compared to reading or grammar besides listening. So it's quite subjective, and also you have to have like the clear scale. Yeah. So you can refer to the what is here in written or what we did in the past. We use Pergamon scale. Yeah. Pergamon, the PERGAMON. So from 1 to 6 or 1 to 9 to assess the speaking skill. So here you have got the complete picture of testing or production from basic level to the advanced level. Let's say like testing in the sentence level, expressing certain like requests or apologies or offering and so on. and also you may have like the speaking based on the pictures. Yeah. So I used to be what like an examiner for state exam. Yeah. So we say ujian negara gitu, for private academies or universities English department. So usually we are given series pictures or short talk or and then we give marks. So from the private uh, the students from private academies or universities, we used to have Academy Bahasa Asing, that is the Academy of Foreign Languages. The major one is English, or you may have few matches or what the study program like the English department or French department or Mandarin and so on. But now APA no longer exists, the Academy of Foreign Languages. So instead we have Sekolah Tinggi, Institute or universities. Okay, that is the picture of testing oral productions. So any question, comments? Or you may report your progress concerning testing oral productions or designing the test. Anyone, please?
So
Yeah, please.
so
Francisca.
yes, yes. So from my group project, so there are consists of Mbak Erwina, Mas Lutfi, and then also Isma. We already taken the test to the students last week, so we got the results of the each of the skills from the writing, reading, and listening, and also the speaking. And yet, we are still processing, or we are still in progressing in scoring and analyzing the all of the skills, sir. Yeah, that's all from me. I can report to you.
Yeah, okay. So any problem in carrying out, let's say like for listening and speaking, any problems you confronted in the field when
Yeah,
you
I still
administered the test? Yeah. What
um
was the problem or what were the problems?
maybe for me that the problems is from the scoring, sir.
Yeah.
Especially the writing skills and also the speaking skill as well, to scoring the skills.
Yeah, and usually for writing skill, it can be what what you call impression method. So meaning that you may have more than one what do you call the reviewers or marker, yeah, markers. So depending on so when you have like your the students are asked to write let's say like a short essay and then you have two options according to Ethan. So one is called impression method, meaning you may have more than what more than markers, meaning ya dua orang yang menilai gitu ya, impression ya, for comparing. Let's say the scale from 1 to 5, and then you have the what distinctive differences, meaning large gap. Let's say the first examiner give only 2 score, and then the second give the 5 or 6, and then so you have to invite the sub what do you call the sub marker ya, penilai yang ketiga untuk tadi, or you can recheck again when there is a what gap, yeah, the series gap between two assessors. Yeah. So I hope that you have got the what measurements or what do you call benchmarks, yeah, to or scales to assess or to score the results of the test. Yeah. Or have you? It is in the form of multiple choice, and then you can use a Google form, yeah, for scoring for objective tests. Yeah. But if you have subjective test, and then you have to involve human, yeah, human assessors.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah. So for next Friday, I suppose every group has presented the topic. Yeah. So next week, the last meeting will be used for your what, like let's say in the draft presentations, and meaning the report, the rough draft reports, so that I could see the process of the writing of the draft. Yeah. So one group has done the what administration, meaning it has administered the test, and then I don't know for the other groups. How many groups do we have? Three or three groups, right? Three,
Hello,
four,
Pak.
yeah.
Assalamualaikum.
Tiga kelompok, three groups, right? So I haven't heard any other groups reporting
Yes.
the progress. Yeah.
Hello, Pak. Actually, you made the test.
Okay, and yeah, okay.
Can I share the screen?
Okay, please.
Okay, here's the test. So, Pak, here's the test.
Yeah.
Very tempted to you to review it, but we didn't receive your feedback yet.
Yeah, okay.
So it's mainly about 3 parts: vocabulary, grammar, and it's by me, Stella, and Yvonne. Then we have yes, vocabulary, 15 questions. Then we have grammar part. Then we have reading. All of them are 50 questions. Then
many, all of them 50.
50.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So for vocab, how many? For vocab, how many items? Vocab, how many items?
15 questions.
15.
Yes.
Okay, for grammar?
I think for grammar maybe 16.
15 as well, and then 20 for reading, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Yeah.
But in total, 50. Yes.
Yeah. Total
So
50, right? Yeah.
yes. Total 50
Okay, if
questions.
you don't mind, please send to my private WhatsApp, then I could check. So I
We
wonder if you
actually
have
did,
administer, or it is still the
not
first draft.
yet, because we sent it to you, but you didn't give us your feedback yet. So we
Okay.
didn't administer
Okay.
to the students yet.
Okay. So please send. Okay, we could look at the first part vocab.
Yeah, just
Could you show the vocab part in the beginning,
yes.
right?
So the
Okay,
vocab
the
word example
okay.
example would be
Please
like
choose the correct answers after reading. So you could
thoroughly
in
interpret.
brackets, please choose the correct answers. The correct answer only one, and then in brackets A, B, C, D, or E. So that it is. Please choose the correct answer. Yeah, only one answer. Yeah, and then in brackets A,
Yes,
comma B, comma C, comma D, or E, because you have five
yes.
options. So it will be more clear. It will be clearer for the testes. The ring road was blocked because of an accident involving.
Accommodating, dealing
Yeah,
with.
yeah. Also, you'd better for it is not dash but dot gitu ya. Apa full stop. It is similar to dot ya. Like dash ya. It is full stop or dash after A.
What?
After the letter
Okay.
A. It is dash
Oh,
or
no,
full
I
stop.
didn't. Do
Yeah.
you mean after the word accommodating? I didn't add full stops after the option, the choices.
No, after A, is it dash or dot or what is in the full stop? Titik
Let me read it.
atau dash gitu loh. Seperti kok. Itu titik atau dash itu ya apa ya? So use pakai titik ya. So you understand Indonesian and Faruk?
No, but
Ya.
uh, but
Coba Mbak Erwina ini apa dash atau titik atau ini ya? Kok?
maksudnya gimana?
Ya Erwina, can you read atau yang lain ini setelah
Would
A
you
ini
like to read?
ini titik atau dash? Kalau titik ya sudah. Kalau dash itu seperti tidak ada itu siapa atau yang ada Hakim ya itu dash atau titik itu meaningful after A and then the letter A and then
No,
you have
but it's just a dash.
full
It's a
stop
dash.
ya titik
Not full stop. Yes, it's not full stop.
full stop ya not dash ya.
You think it's full stop?
Ya full stop not dash ya.
Okay.
And
I will
then
modify it.
for it is for the option not using capital letters like accommodating not capital letter but small letter because an accident so it is kind of the part of the sentence so don't use
Yes.
capital letter for the first letter of each word ya accommodating dealing with consisting tackling so use small letters an accident involving gitu kan free
Yes.
vehicles and then what is it
Her doctor told her that She urgently has to stay away from excessive, tiring work and take it
and take it,
easy,
yeah,
easily, hard,
yeah,
comfortably for a couple of days after such a critical
yeah,
condition of her illness.
take it easy,
Then,
yeah, okay.
yes. So for all of them, we have to modify it to not have a capitalized word in the
Mm.
beginning, the multiple
Yeah,
choices
yeah, yeah. Don't
of a
use
dash.
capital letter. Use small, yeah,
Okay.
A full stop and then small letter for each words or phrases. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
next part.
So
The next
yes.
next
So do
for
you
the
think that the part is okay, but except for the modifications that you mentioned?
yeah,
Do you
and then
think
you
the
have
first part?
yeah. If you was to accept my okay the oh, it's okay. So you have the two yeah two blank yeah.
So for
Grammar
the
okay
former
grammar
part,
grammar read okay grammar read the instruction
read the
carefully
instructions.
and answer. So please write
Yes,
the instruction using only capital letters in the beginning. But you may have grammar for the block letters, yeah. The whole capital letters for grammar, but for instruction use I suppose should be consistent with the for the instruction, yeah. Check in
yes,
the
yes.
vocab instruction. Check in the vocab instruction. Again, in the vocab part.
In the vocab part, it
So
was
you may
just
have like a number like A or one room, yeah. Yeah, and the for vocab, now vocab. So here you have on the instruction. So use small letters, and then for the grammar part you have the capital letters, block letters. Yeah, you know what I mean?
yes, yes. You mean like to
Yeah.
standardize the
So
format
yeah,
of the test,
perhaps
right?
it is written by different person, and then you as an
Yes,
what coordinator, editor, you should what
standardize
yeah edit. Yeah, you should revise.
to make
You
the
should
form or the
to make
right
it
one.
uniform. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So like let's say A for part A and then grammar, you may have like
B.
block letters, but for the instruction use small letters, only capital letters in the beginning. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So
Complete the
example for
sentence
the
saying yeah. Sorry. And then would you
uh,
like complete the sentence with the most appropriate indefinite pronoun from the list given below. So you have the
pronoun,
four, yeah. One, two, three, four. Would you like yeah, something to
something
drink?
to drink,
Yeah,
nothing to drink,
yeah. Does
somewhere. Go.
anybody know her? Yeah. The weapons were found somewhere here. Yeah, okay. And the
Then for complete the sentence,
yeah,
we have three questions. For
yeah,
fill in the blank, we have
yeah,
three questions.
yeah.
Then the grammar part is divided into
Okay, or
many
you
various.
could put the sorry for the option for the list. So put in the box, right? It will be more to put the list in the box, list of words. Something, nothing, somewhere, anybody. Put in the box. I suppose the in the list
Yes, yes,
or from the list in the box given below. Yeah. Three apa ini? Oh, three marks. MKS. So don't abbreviate so that it will be
yes.
3 marks. Ya, 3.
Okay, okay.
Fill in the blank
Yes,
with the correct. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the rest you could send. You could send
yes,
the draft so that
yes. Actually, we
because the
sent it.
letters are
We
too
sent it
small for
already.
me on the screen.
Yes. Okay,
So,
just I want to ask
yeah,
something.
yeah,
Do you think the
yeah,
test is okay? Yani,
yeah,
generally, so far, do you think it's okay, except for the
yeah, I
modification?
suppose it's okay. Yeah, just
Okay.
about the
Uh,
technical methods or format, I suppose. Yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah. So
Okay.
if any,
So for,
I'll give you comments. I will give you notes, some notes for revision for, yeah.
so for the grading, I think we just make every question is equivalent to 1 grade.
Yeah, yeah. So the point is, don't make, please give the interaction as clearly as possible so that the participants, the testers, are not confused or not. Yeah. That is the point. Meaning the make instruction as clearly as possible. So short enough, don't be too apa namanya, don't be too long or too lengthy or too complicated. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so you can send to my personal WhatsApp for the draft, yeah. And
Yes,
then
Yvonne the sent.
if it,
We may need to know your feedback so we can administer it to the students, inshallah.
yeah, okay,
Just give feedback, inshallah.
yeah, okay, good.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Another
Can I
group?
stop here?
Okay, yeah, okay, please.
Thank you so much.
Another group? Okay, any other questions, comments concerning the your progress report from groups? So next week, next Friday will be the last meeting also for, yeah, for your progress report, the last progress report. If possible, it is in the form of, let's say, like rough draft or for your final assignment, so that I could check or I could see whether you are on the right track or not. Meaning you should write the report according to the guidelines. Okay. Okay, if you don't have any question, comments, and then we can stop now. So thank you for joining the class and see you next Friday. Yeah, goodbye.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you, Pa.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay,
Thank you, sir.
okay, you're welcome.